Welcome to RCBN Business Insights. I'm Brian Connors. So you're a successful business owner, used to controlling your own destiny, but for numerous potential reasons, whether it is a desire to spend more time with your family, a recent health event, or changing business circumstances, the necessity to take less of a role in the day-to-day management of your business is increasingly important to you. If you are having that internal conversation, we have some thoughts and ideas to share with you that can have a significant impact both personally and financially on your transition to the post-business ownership phase of your life. Hi, I'm Brian Connors, a CFP with over 30 years of wealth management experience. And over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to share with you some important facts and concepts and interview a knowledgeable exit planning experts for you to help you make a successful business transition and avoid the pitfalls that may sabotage your retirement plan dream. With me today is my guest, Bill Ellermeyer, a premier executive transition coach. Bill, welcome to the show.
Good to be here,
Yeah,
Brian.
Glad you could join us. So Bill, you and I have had this conversation numerous times about what's the word unretirement mean? And why are so many business executives right now in a phase of their life that has some unique challenges that they may not know about?
Well, I think several things. First of all, so much planning goes into getting yourself to be financially secure, so that at 65 you have choices. It's not necessarily anymore and increasingly about stopping work. So I've actually been a career transition coach for about 30 years. Increasingly, I'm helping some of these people that have retired come back into the market because they find that life of golf and travel, if they had those resources, which with somebody like you they will, there's got to be more. They miss the action.
Right.
So unretirement is undoing what you see on the nightly TV set about you're going to go off on a river cruise for the rest of your life or be on the golf course. But what ends up, you're playing cards the most of the rest of the day.
Right.
So I've been teaching people to stay in the game. My iconic guy, Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Warren's 85 now,
85
and he pretty much works full time. He got a couple of businesses, deal finding, and he also, he's on boards.
He's living the dream.
That's 20 years beyond what we talk about in the normal.
Right.
So teaming up
And he
with
looks healthy too, when you
Yeah.
look at him. It looks like, everybody talks about him potentially needing to transition because he's put his plan in place, obviously, for his transition, obviously, to something else. But he doesn't seem like there's any interest for him to make that decision today, at least as far as I can see.
When I tell somebody that's 60 years old, I said, listen, if you know how to take care of yourself, proper diet, exercise, etc., you got 25 years of work if you want. Now, it doesn't mean you have to work full time, but you want to stay in the game.
Right. So you were telling me about a recent executive that you started working with and what he's doing. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Robert, one of my latest clients, started a retail store up in Baldwin Park like 35 years ago. He built that store into, I think it was close to 300 stores. And over that 30-year period, he grew the business. Eventually, he sold to private equity. But beyond discussions with his wife about travel and playing golf, he didn't really do any planning about what he'd do after the sale of the business. Right. What happened after he sold the business, after about 9 months of this routine playing golf, more playing cards,
So it just seemed a lot
he
of people
said, you know what?
right?
He missed the action.
Yeah.
He missed the action. And that's the key. High achievement people are used to, making things happen and getting things done. They got to have some purpose and passion in their life.
Right.
So Robert, my guy, I started working with him, and of course he came out of a business, so I got him on the board of a small manufacturing firm that was similar to the products he used to work with.
Right.
Then I got him working with a turnaround consultant, helping in his industry again. So Robert is now working, I'd say, 60% of the time, and at 65, he's thrilled with that.
Right.
He doesn't need to work 100%, but he keeps his hand in the game.
Right.
And that's what the new model of retirement is and needs to be.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you coach your executives on in terms of how do they make that transition, in terms of what should be thinking about?
Well, they got to be thinking ahead of time what they're going to be doing. And of course, one of the key things is knowing what your passion is. I'm very heavy on the assessment phase of working with a client, going back into their life and finding where they were passionate. Really, basically, it's called skills work. I mean, back in the 1920s, the Department of Labor discovered that if you catch somebody doing something they love, that's where they're going to be using their skills.
Right.
And then a famous author, Richard Bohl, did a book called What Color is Your Parachute? And in there is this process called skills. Instead of taking a personality test, it's breaking down your achievements and looking for those inherent skills, or what I call your natural motivated abilities, and find the 3 or 4 things where those are, and then put those together with your experience and your passion and your values, and create a new plan.
So what are some of the trends that you think we're going to be seeing going forward regarding that with this post-retirement phase, or this, I guess it's not post-retirement, in this case, unretirement phase of a business executive's life?
I think the idea of retirement meaning stop work, that model is going by the boards. Now, if you're doing a physical labor job, you're gonna maybe phase into something else.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that you're kind of communicating to executives not to use the R word.
Exactly.
Word.
You know what the R word means? First of all, it says you're no longer a player. Okay? And guess what? You're not invited.
Yes.
And you know what? You ain't that interesting. And
isn't that that's amazing. I think I find that myself, is that when I'm communicating with people, that you can talk about 3 things. You can talk about things, you can talk about people, or you can talk about ideas. The ones I normally gravitate to the most these days is people that talk about ideas. And if you're retired, I think that's less and less of what you're talking about, right? It's more about my pains, my challenges,
Absolutely.
health issues.
When you say you're retired, you're irrelevant to the working world.
Which is kind of sad.
It's very sad, because you have more knowledge than you can make a contribution, and you just need to reinvent yourself. Yeah. But don't stop work. Retired means you're too old. Yeah. And in conversation, if you say you're retired, you become a different animal and you're not of interest to. And most people are out meeting people all the time or networking. When I hear somebody say they're retired, I try to help them. I say, listen, don't use that word, because you're consulting. You're doing several little things. You're interested in automobiles. You and your partner might get refurb that old 55 Chevy. But don't use the retired word. If you have to use it, I retired from the XYZ company. But don't use that word in terms of that's what your life is now. You're not retired. You're already doing these things. And so don't use that word.
Right. Yeah, I'm in the retirement business, of course, as a financial advisor. And, some of my clients as well ask me, like, when are you going to retire, Brian? And it's an interesting question, because, it's like, well, are you going to be around? I mean, they're wondering. I guess they're also thinking themselves, like, do we need to make some changes as well in terms of the future? And, I think when I first got into the business, it was all about getting this magical number on the balance sheet, and then that's it. That's your ticket to freedom. But in my case, since I work for myself, I kind of already do what I like to do, and I do get enough time off.
Why would you quit?
I say to myself, why?
Brian, you can be doing that when you're 90. So it's a very different world. So the retirement planning that you're doing, it's about having the money to have the flexibility.
Is important, because you have to
That's
have
the most important.
Resources.
You got to have the financial resource when you're 65, but you also have the ability now. If you want to, with your wife, go off to Italy for a month, you can do it.
And this is why you and I have these great chats, because
Absolutely.
I'm working on the financial and numbers side.
Yes.
But there's that side of your life that if you haven't planned for it or thought about it, you're going to get to that goal and then find that it isn't what you think it is.
It's because you know what, in this new retirement, you need structure. You're used to structure. Yeah. One of the most disruptive things is relationships change. You got to create new relationships. Guess what? Married people, where do they have some conflict? With the spouse, the wife. You're now in their territory during the day. Yes. That is not a good thing.
And you hit on a good point about the relationships. One of the things I think I enjoy about business is that you're constantly meeting people, and you're developing new relationships all the time. And you might find someone that, geez, we have a lot in common, and yet you would never meet them if you were just going on playing golf all the time and just staying at home.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's critical. To me, it's exciting. So I tell people that are in those years beyond 65, it's still about getting up, getting out, and building relationships. And guess what? Relationships come about as a result of serving other people.
That's right.
So your job is to serve. How can you do that? You can share an article you read in the Wall Street Journal. You can, a seminar you saw, a book you read, but then the other person says, Brian cares about me. enough to ask that question. Because so many people are broadcasting what they want. When you meet them new, they're just broadcasting their, quote, elevator speech, which is a waste of time. I talk about branding. Get it down to simple. You know, at night on the nightly TV, corporations spend billions building that brand. Every night, Capital One credit card, 4 words. What's in your wallet?
What's in your wallet, yeah.
Zillow, what is it? Find your way home, 4 words.
Yeah.
Nike, just do it. Individuals can do
And
that
you're really
too.
good at that, by the way, in helping people work through
yeah.
that, particularly on the personal branding side, which many people are kind of uncomfortable with. And they don't sometimes even realize what their message is out there.
No, and I try to get them to focus on some unique aspect word that describes them. You know, innovator or something, and build around 4 or 5 words around, so that every time you go to that meeting, you use that same branding statement, and guess what? They'll get to know you. You know, sometimes I'll say, well, I'm a career gardener. Oh, what do you mean? Yeah, I repot executives. Oh, yeah, and I say I got 3 pots: find a job, start a business, or buy a business.
Buy business.
And then the next month I see him, oh, hey, the career gardener guy. You know, hey, have you repotted anybody recently? You know, so really get it down to a few, because I go to these networking meetings, and they go around the room a lot of times, and the guy will go off on an elevator speech for, you know, a minute, minute and a half. After 30 seconds, your eyes roll over. You can't remember any of that, and they all sound the same.
What do you see would be a way, the roadmap for how you would work with somebody and help them to accomplish some of these things so that they're prepared for making that next transition?
Well, like I say, the biggest thing, Brian, is really understanding my client. I go back to how they grew up. They grew up on a farm in Ohio. What was life? Where did they acquire those values and skills early in their life, even before they went to school? So I probably spend the first 2-3 meetings a lot on going back through their life and understanding my client. And again, going back to what I said earlier about skills. You find the things they've done well in life, and then you break it down. What were the skills that were operative in that particular achievement? So the first thing I have people do is list achievements. What are the achievements you had in your personal life? Like I helped my dad design and build a barbecue when I was 15 years old in the back of my... So the personal life, your academic life, where did you excel and what were you interested in, and your work life. Those 3 things. So I'm very big on assessment. Then we can build a job target, a primary objective, but also a secondary objective. And sometimes the secondary, which is to buy a small business, comes up in the first place. Brian, a lot of them have a small business for sale. And their kids don't want a company that makes plastic bottles. They want the money. And you got 3 kids, so there's a liquidity event, a sale of a business.
Which is a real big issue right now.
Big issue. And that's where...
Because they're really not prepared for this transition.
They're not.
They haven't really
thought it out. Some of them are actually scared to let it go. Because it's their whole identity.
Exactly.
So we got to create that new identity before they get to that.
And I would see that's a really big issue for a lot of executives because they identify themselves a lot with their professional success. And, you know, making that transition to say, you know, it's not just about you, and it can't be just about you if you want to transition a business. And also that you have to have other things in your life that are going to replace that.
Unfortunately, a lot of business don't. Their whole identity is that business.
Which is what we talked about sometimes.
Letting go of that business is very difficult. So they need to be thinking ahead. When I'm a career coach, I say, hey, Frank, it's not about the next job. It's about the next 25 years. We need a longer view. You know, what's the average length of time of a job in the United States?
God, I don't even know anymore. It used to be 5 years, 6 years, 7 years.
Now it's about 2 to 3
2
years.
to 3 years.
So if you're 59 years old,
and
a lot of my clients are in that age, I say, you know, you don't want to be looking again 3 years from now.
It's going to be hard.
Maybe the business is in you. And you know my stump speech.
You are the enterprise.
There you go. I teach people, they're a business. Now in the early years, you as a business, deploy yourself in a traditional job. That's how you learn your trade. But now you got to be thinking about, you know, you incorporated, and maybe you have 3 divisions that different things you do. And I've got people, I call it a portfolio career, using your core skills over multiple streams of income. Oh, wow. You can start, the simplest one is, oh, I'm going to teach at Chapman, you know, one night a week. Oh, and I meet people there at Chapman. Oh, now I'm going to teach 2 courses and I get some benefits from that. And then the next thing is my core business is IT, so I'm a consultant in IT. So I got the teaching, IT, then maybe I can do speaking. Oh, guess what? I can put this all together in a book. I write a book. So again, portfolio career means creating multiple streams of income for the long run as opposed to just one job.
Great stuff, Bill. So, so if someone needs some help, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, obviously, I'm a bit old school, and I have people calling me all the time, so I got to say it, because I can get right into it and put it in my schedule.
Well, you run a business group.
Yeah, I do. I have an executive roundtable. We've been meeting for 3 years. We get 30 people every month, and we have about 10 regulars. We have 3 or 4 presentations, so the meeting is like a business magazine. Right. We got a financial report. We got an incubating company from a local incubator in Irvine bringing a 10-minute pitch on their story. Then we have a talk on a subject. Our main themes are the future, entrepreneurship, global business, jobs and employment, executive fitness and health. And that's, one of the ways I build my brand. And so I've had over 150 people come to that in the last 3 years. It's like no other meeting, again, because if you don't like this 10 minutes, you'll like the next 10 minutes,
And it's summarized in Ellermeyer Connect.
Absolutely. My email, bill@ellermeyerconnect.com. bill@ellermeyerconnect.com.
Great, Bill. Well, great having you on the show.
It's been a pleasure.
Excellent conversation. And he is the connector, knowing him for over, I guess it's a lot of years now. But if you're an executive looking for some help and transition and thinking about the next phase of your life, Bill would be the go-to guy. Bill, thanks again for being with us. Remember, you setting your objectives will direct all subsequent planning efforts and actions. Clarifying your goals and values now will allow you to successfully exit your business. The most important is taking strategic action today to execute your desired business exit plan. Remember, the most significant factor that impacts your ability to leave your company successfully or unsuccessfully is creating a company with what we call transferable value. And that value does not include you. A key point to creating transferable value is to execute daily on working on your business, not just in your business. So start your today with your business exit plan in mind. We hope this exit planning information roadmap has been helpful to you toward starting the exit planning process today. I'm Brian Connors. Thank you for joining us.